Hi, welcome to the Vaguely Anime Podcast. I am one of the hosts this afternoon, Michael, followed by Culture Corner other host, Sage.
Hi.
And we are at the very least, for a hot minute, I guess, talking about the rest of the Mission Impossible franchise.
We'll talk about Fallout and Dead Reckoning Part 1, since I just watched those.
Did we talk about the actually, now I'm thinking about it. Did we talk about the others? Or did you just mention it and then we never got to it?
I think I remembered talking about at least them vaguely.
All right, so how about we just Mission Impossible franchise?
I will say, in terms of the Mission Impossible movies, I feel like maybe it's just because they're really like not my cup of tea.
Oh boy.
But like they all feel kind of the same.
I mean, every action, like spy action movie is, hey, there's a world-ending thing.
Yeah.
Solve the problem. But like you could argue that with any movie.
I know, but I feel like Mission Impossible is like, in terms of like the way they make their movies, is very like, this is how it's going, if that makes sense. Like they never do anything that I'm like genuinely shocked. You know?
I don't know if you go into those movies looking to be genuinely
No,
shocked,
I'm not saying that I am, but I'm
Okay.
saying like,
well, yeah,
because for me, each viewing experience has felt the same every single time.
Oh, I would disagree. I feel like the stakes don't get bigger, but like the stunts get bigger, like the set pieces are different, like
Right, like I'm always impressed, but I'm just like, I don't know, I just don't really care. And like, I don't know.
That's it?
That's it.
That's your entire Mission Impossible synopsis?
I will say, watching Dead Reckoning Part 1, it did not need to be 3 hours. It was absurdly long for basically no reason. And I was getting extremely annoyed with Grace, Haley Atwell's character.
Uh-huh.
I was like, do one useful thing. Please. Like, they kill off Ilsa and keep Grace alive. And I was like, okay,
Spoilers.
okay, you're keeping Grace alive.
For the movie.
Maybe she's going to be useful in some way. No.
Well, she's just a spy, a thief, a pickpocket over her head.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just like,
What do you want her to get super kung fu powers out of nowhere?
no, it's not even that, but I'm like, girl, just go. Just leave. Simply be out of this movie.
She was trying. Ethan kept being like, no.
There were so many moments because she was getting on my nerves so much. And I really like Haley Atwell, right?
Haley Atwell is awesome. Also, super hot.
Yeah, but I was just like, when towards the end of the movie when they're like having that like whole train sequence,
Uh-huh.
I was like, kill her now, you have a chance. Let her die, Ethan.
God, you might be, when you have bad opinions, you might be the worst person to watch a movie with.
I was just getting really annoyed with her. But yeah, I don't know. I think the movies are entertaining enough, but like
I feel like the movies are like in the same vein as like John Wick, where like even if you don't like the story, the fact that what you're watching is all actually happening makes it all seem cooler.
I agree, but with John Wick, I feel like for me at least, like John Wick is so like hyper stylized. And I feel like they do really like unique like lighting choices and camera shots and things like that, whereas actually especially in Dead Reckoning Part 1 they kept doing these annoying ass Dutch tilt shot reverse shot for like a 10-minute conversation, and I was like, if you do not straighten out this fucking camera right now,
But okay,
I'm
but
gonna
you know
put
exactly
myself.
why that Dutch tilt's there.
I know, but the way this scene was shot was.
It's when they're all around in the chairs, right? And they're all like, who's the bad guy? Who's got the upper hand? That whole scene.
No, but that was funny because while I was watching that scene, it just made me think of, the scene in Shrek 2 where they're having dinner.
Uh-huh.
And it's like Shrek, Fiona, and then King Harold and whatever the queen's name is, and Donkey is there.
Why are you gonna belittle the queen like that?
I'm sorry, I haven't watched Shrek 2 in a really long time.
This is you're just what's the word? You're anti-feminist.
Yeah. misogynist,
yeah,
I think
there
is
you
what
go.
you were
Thank
looking
you.
for.
Support women. Support your queens.
Support your queens. But it just made me think of
Only
that
knowing
scene.
The king.
Only knowing the king. But yeah, it was just making me think of that scene because of like the way they were doing it. It was very funny to me. But yeah, the scene I'm talking about is when it's Ethan, Ilsa, Luther, and Benji, and they're like, "Oh no, the key is to the source code of like the world-ending AI."
Right.
And Ethan's like, "Why didn't you tell me this info sooner?" Blah blah blah, and they're just having this like back and forth or whatever. So it kept being like close-up shot, regular straight shot, and then shot B, Dutch tilt, and then back to shot A, Dutch tilt. But it was like really inconsistent throughout. So I was like, okay, pick one, and just stick with it. Because the number of times that they were cutting, because this scene goes on for like at least 10 minutes. And they keep doing only close-up shots for this entire conversation. And I was like, just give me one wide shot of the four of them. Please, for the love of God. It was really annoying me. And usually, like, I'm the kind of person where I don't really notice things like that because, like...
I haven't seen this movie since it came out, so I don't...
Yeah, I'm usually the kind of person where I don't super... Like, I'm not that aware of, like, camera movements and, like, those things because I'm just not educated enough in filmmaking to, like... pick up on those things. But this was just going on for so long that I was like, okay, it's getting annoying now. Also, another thing that was bothering me during the like key exchange on the train with Kittredge, you have Haley Atwell having a mask to be Vanessa Kirby, right? Except one thing that I was like, wait a second. They didn't make her eyes, they didn't give her like blue contacts.
Yeah, but didn't they explicitly say they were like, we didn't have time or like we couldn't get it, but maybe they haven't met?
No. That's not the problem. Him not knowing what she looks like is fine. Because maybe they haven't met. That I don't care about. But wouldn't her brother instantly recognize that his sister suddenly doesn't have blue eyes? Because Vanessa Kirby has the biggest, brightest blue eyes in the world. And Haley Atwell's eyes are brown.
I don't know.
Like, I noticed it right away.
Was there not something that they said?
They didn't say anything. He was, like, shocked when actual Vanessa Kirby came into the train, all drugged up because she got, like, tranked. And I was like, you don't know what your own sister's eyes look like? Hello?
Maybe Vanessa was wearing a disguise. Maybe he was like,
she wasn't.
She changed her eye color.
He noticed that she changed her outfit, right? Because Haley Atwell was wearing something else. And he's like, oh, you changed? And she's like, yeah. You know, I decided to change my outfit, whatever, right? But I was like, you're not going to notice that her eyes are completely different? The fuck?
He was too busy with other stuff.
He's looking right at her.
Too busy with other stuff.
But yeah,
that feels like something that they would have acknowledged because in other movies
they absolutely did not acknowledge
like
it, and
they
it
bring
really
up
bothered
in other
me.
Movies.
I'm telling you, in this one, and I was thinking that they would bring it up because I feel like whenever they're wearing disguises, right, they're like, even in I think like the first or second one, where they're like, oh, like you just seem a little different, right, or like something seems a little off, and then like Tom Cruise will have to be like, oh, well, you know, this happened, right, to like try to like make it seem like, you know, no major changes happening, like he's the person he's impersonating, you know. But in this one, they just didn't bring it up, and I was like, surely at least the brother would know, and they just don't bring it up. It was crazy. Oh, also the close-up magic was really funny because I was like, wait, when the fuck did we introduce this? But I liked it. It was fun. And I liked like the action scenes were good. I liked him jumping off of the mountain and that whole sequence with like Benji in the car trying to like radio him and them like yelling at each other. That was funny. I like that. Are you looking up if there's an explanation?
Well, I'm seeing if anything and like So like basically, a lot of people are just like also asking that, and a lot of people are thinking that either like it was just like a deleted scene mentioning something, and it ended up on the cutting room floor, or or other people are like, her brother's really fucking stupid in that movie. It kind of just helps accentuate how stupid he is.
I guess, but I feel like that's like a little retconny because he didn't feel that like he was actively dumb in Fallout. Like he obviously is not the brains of the operation,
Right.
But in Fallout, he didn't seem like he was just like muscle, you know. But in this movie, he's definitely like just there to be there to stand around. Also, I kept thinking to myself that I was like, you know what would be so incredibly useful to Ethan Hunt right now? If he just carried a firearm. Any gun would be helpful to you right now. Like, you don't need to be killing people, because I get it. He's anti-killing people.
Is he?
I don't know. This is a whole thing of him being like, everyone's always like, yeah, but you, in Fallout, they're like, but you care about that one life over the possible millions lost. And then this whole thing with Grace and him not wanting her to die.
I was like, in Mission Impossible 3, he definitely kills people.
Even though, so maybe that's a retcon in his character from Fallout onwards.
I'm pretty sure he definitely kills ghosts. I think in Fallout he kills people.
Because they talk.
He throws a dude out of a helicopter mid-flight. That guy's definitely not alive.
Yeah, but that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But
he kills bad guys.
Well, in Dead Reckoning, he's actively not trying to kill bad guys.
I don't remember that at all.
And I'm like, just kill them, or at least kneecap them. Anything is more useful than your not so helpful fight punch kick.
I mean, my opinion.
Like he in Dead Reckoning, he's actively like slamming people's faces into walls, and I'm like, just do a little more. A little more. Solve your problems, Ethan.
My opinions on Dead Reckoning are mostly like I need to wait for part 2 because it feels extremely like a part 1.
It definitely does, because we spend 3 hours to obtain 2 items.
Which, are they still naming the second one no longer part 2?
What
Which is hilarious.
What do you mean?
There was a bit for a while, and it might still be the case, that they were like, it's no longer a part 1 and 2. They're like renaming the second one, and you're like, but the first one's still called part 1. You can't just change the name and have a part 1 and then Mission Impossible, your mom.
Yeah. But also, like, not only can you not do that, but like part 1 is obviously a part 1 of a movie, because.
Well, to be fair, I mean.
Does that make sense though? Like,
yeah, but like Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse was going to be part 1, and then they just renamed that one. But like,
right.
The difference there is they changed it before it came out.
Right. Right.
Whereas this one still will have part 1 in the title.
It's still part 1 in the title on Paramount Plus right now. But yeah, like, I kind of wish. I hope in part 2 or whatever they're calling it, I'm hoping that Ilsa's death is a fake out and she's somehow actually alive.
If she's not alive, I'm gonna be
so
ungodly sad.
I'm gonna be big mad, okay? Because she was the side chick that should have ridden off into the sunset with him.
Cruz?
Yeah.
He's still technically married.
I know, but he can't see his wife.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
Like, Julia's fucked off and married some other guy, some other schmuck, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Mans has got to move on, and if there was any other person he should move on with, is obviously Ilsa. If in part 2 he moves on with Grace, I'm going to put myself in the movie. I'm going to be like, no, I refuse. Plotline declined, okay?
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning streaming release part 1 dropped from title. Well, that's not true, right?
It's still part 1 on Paramount Plus. And that's, I think, the only thing it's streaming on, not for purchase at least.
In news articles from January of this year, it keeps saying part 1 is being dropped from the title.
Well, it hasn't been yet.
Yeah. I mean, they should just stick with part 1 and part 2. You've committed too far.
Like, you can't put it in the movie and then just to say JK.
Yeah, it's too late.
It's too late, buddy. I'm sorry.
It is. It's too far gone. You've committed. Also, this is saying it lost $200 million. I am fairly certain that is not. Yeah, that is not true at all. Okay, cool. I was like, that movie did very well. I don't think it did as well as Fallout, though, because Fallout's the best Mission Impossible movie.
I heard that it didn't do
Fallout
well
did do better.
domestically in theaters, but internationally, I heard it did well.
Honestly, that's the case for a lot of shit recently.
But you know what I mean. So that's probably why they're saying
Um,
like they lost, because maybe they're only comparing it to like domestic box office revenue.
That is true. Domestic did not break the budget, but international did.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of times, like, when you see those articles of, like, this movie flopped, they only take into consideration, like, the domestic
Which
revenue.
is stupid because
It is stupid.
there's more people in the rest of the world than there are domestically.
Yeah, and the movie is obviously being put out widely available everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially, like, I'm sure you've seen all this stuff about, like, how movies, they do obvious edits, to market to China, because that's just such a huge market.
Did you hear that? Who the fuck made the Borderlands movie again? What studio was that?
I heard that it kind of tanked, and
Oh,
it wasn't very good.
It was terrible, and I'm so happy it tanked. Because they just actively do the thing that like old video game movies used to do, where it was like, hey, what if we have somebody write this movie that like very clearly heard about Borderlands once in passing,
where it's
from a
like
conversation
completely
in a
irrelevant
different
to the
room.
lore.
Yeah, where they were like heard it from a conversation in a different room, and then went, I'm gonna ignore all that lore and make my own thing, but with the same people's names. And then also we're gonna cast 20-something characters as 60-year-old actors for some reason to combat ageism. But like that doesn't make any sense. It's not like Jamie Lee Curtis and Kate Blanchett aren't getting roles anywhere.
Yeah, what?
So
They're like two of the most hireable actors.
yeah,
I don't understand.
the movie was fucking terrible. I only went to see it because it was free.
Right,
'Cause,
valid.
the
I think
AMC
I
A-list.
I will happily watch it on my couch, which I know is like the wrong mindset, right?
No, do it for free because it is, again, where I was going with this.
Yeah.
Lionsgate, that's who made it. But where I was going with this
Yeah,
was that they released it for free, no ads on YouTube.
Already?
Yep.
That's so bad. That they didn't.
Whole movie, great quality too.
They didn't even get the like, oh, exclusively on like this streaming service treatment. That's worse.
Anthony walked into my room yesterday and was like, oh, it's just on YouTube. He thought somebody ripped it. And then he found out that they apparently paid for it just to put it on YouTube.
Oh my god. That I feel like is worse than, you remember when you used to have like direct to DVD sequels?
Mm-hmm.
Where like it was like a shitty low budget sequel.
Yeah.
And you could just get it on DVD, but it would be like in the like $1 bin.
Mm-hmm.
That seems worse than the $1 bin DVDs.
And also the fact that, it only made $31 million in worldwide for
Worldwide?
for $120 million budget.
That's so bad.
So that movie's terrible. And I am saying this with the premise that it probably would have still sucked or could have still sucked, but the original director, Eli Roth, who I have not seen any of his other stuff, but I know some people either love him or hate him. He originally made the movie, and the studios hated it so much that they had Tim Miller, the guy that made the first Deadpool, reshoot and redirect a bunch of it, to which the changes were so extensive they had to rescore the movie because it no longer fit.
Oh my, at that point.
So a lot of people are like, that may have been why it sucks, but it also may have just sucked anyway, and this is just, so like, I usually like to try to be like, studio interference is probably the reason, but there's a lot fundamentally wrong with the screenplay that I feel like.
Now I have a question, because I knew I wasn't gonna see this movie in theaters anyway because
you
I was not like invested in Borderlands by any means. But is it bad because you know the lore of the game?
No, it's just bad.
Okay.
It is
Because
just
I
a
was gonna
bad
say
movie.
I don't know really any lore from the game. So like as somebody who has no knowledge, would it be like at least entertaining?
No, not really. Not really at all. It'd actually be pretty just bad.
Wow, that's
Jack Black is insufferable as Claptrap. The only character they didn't fuck up, and again, you'll still think they're all terrible without knowledge of the characters. But the only character they didn't fuck up is the character that can only say weird, nonsensical threats. And that's the only way they can talk.
okay.
Where they're like, I'm going to rip out your spine and ride it like a meat bicycle. That's like the lines that this character says in the games.
Okay.
Shit like that.
Gotcha.
It's the only character they didn't fuck up. Where they just still had him barely talk and only say one-liners.
I see.
Sometimes.
I see.
And be strong.
I see.
That was it. And thus, because they didn't change him, he's great.
I
Everyone else sucks.
I so desperately need movie studios to realize, one, they don't need to spend $100 million on a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And two,
Yeah.
you don't like this whole idea of spending this much money on a movie and then it's flopping. Not only did you not make anywhere near the amount of money you spent globally, it gets put on YouTube for free with ads.
No, without ads.
Oh, I'm sorry, without ads. Ouchie.
Yeah, just free. Full free. Nothing there.
Double ouchie.
Just click and watch.
That if I was the executives at this movie studio at Lionsgate, I would be killing myself, okay? I would be like, we can never recover. Because I want so desperately. The other day I was watching Legally Blonde while I was cleaning my house because it's like one of my comfort movies and I can literally quote that entire movie.
Right.
And I was like, we need to bring back the mid-tier movies where like you film on like maybe 3 locations and you have maybe 1 star and a couple of like up and coming actors where you don't need to spend $50 million to hire Margot Robbie. Not that I have anything against Margot Robbie. She's just a very popular actress right now.
Right.
But you know what I mean? But not only you're going to spend $50 million to hire this actor, but then you're going to spend another $50 million to hire 20 other A-list actors. Like, it's just unsustainable. I don't understand what the thought process is. Not every movie can be Dune. Not every movie can be Into the Spider-Verse. And I think what movie studios don't understand about those movies is Dune and Spider-Verse, the level of craft and commitment and art that's going into it is on all levels is why it's so good
Right.
and why so many people are going to see it. Not because Timothée Chalamet happens to be Paul. I mean, some people might be seeing it just for that reason. But I think
Right.
a lot of people walk out of that movie not thinking, oh, I liked it because Timothée Chalamet was in it.
Right.
They're walking out saying those visuals were unbelievable. The score was incredible.
Right.
The acting was amazing, you know? It's just the math ain't mathin' for me, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so it appears that at least for them paying to put it on there was not true.
Oh, okay. Who is them? Lionsgate or YouTube?
Yeah, I guess. Lionsgate, I don't fucking know. It was just a pure quality rip. And somebody put it up there. And it stayed up for 2 days.
Oh, so it was like a super good rip.
They released it on demand, so he probably just...
Oh, gotcha. 'Cause
it is no longer up, though.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
But...
Wouldn't that just be such a punch to your ego, though, if that was real?
I mean, that movie was fucking terrible. I would imagine that they would just, like, get it away. Because, like... Again, I get for whatever reason, studios decide to put all these actors into things, even though they should just use voice actors, especially for things like Claptrap. Just use the original guy.
Yeah.
But like,
Also, not everything needs to be in live action.
yeah, but like if you're gonna do it, you like it doesn't need to be a different story. You're not better than what like the problem with this is always the argument with original like older video game adaptations, right? When they were terrible, was that like either make it a completely original story that doesn't have to do with the characters, and if you want the characters to show up, have them up as the background but still faithful.
Right.
Or like, I don't know, some kind of linchpin or some shit, like they go find them.
Right.
Or just make what people liked because it sold well originally and keeps selling well. Maybe they're onto something. Maybe make that the story of the movie and then just make it live action.
Well, I think a big part of it is when you have these video game adaptations, right? Especially if you're adapting a video game that is coming, from the East.
Right.
The studios, for some reason, the West, I'm sorry. No,
Oh,
no. We're West, they're East. Yeah, I was right.
Who are we talking about here? Borderlands is a Western company.
I know, I'm saying not Borderlands.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying, in general, Eastern video games.
Oh, okay.
In terms of making them into movies.
Okay.
A lot of times I feel like there's this, like, studios feel like they have to, like, Westernize it, and that's why they make all these changes,
Right.
even though people liked the original thing.
Yeah.
But, like, maybe, like, our studios, like, no. These dummies, if we put it into movie form, won't understand the lore.
Yeah.
So let's just change all of it.
It's like, yeah, they didn't like this for what was there.
Yeah.
We know better.
Yeah.
We know better than the people that liked this and made it successful.
Yeah, we know better than the people that gave this company millions of dollars.
It never makes sense, and it is always funny. And also bad. Like, I'm so happy they lost so much money on this.
So in terms of, like, Borderlands and them changing stuff,
Uh-huh.
are they changing, like, the character dynamics? Because, like, is Borderlands a story-based game? I don't really, like, when I say
mean,
I have, like, no knowledge of it.
I mean,
I just
like,
know it's visuals.
I mean, you play through a campaign. There's nothing else past the campaign.
Oh, okay.
I mean, like, there's, like, it's an open world, but, like, it's campaign and side quests. But, like, all you do is run through the story. Like, so I would say it's story-based.
Okay.
The characters are kind of important.
Gotcha.
And at this point, most people are attached to said characters.
Well, no, I asked because I didn't know if it was something where it's like Overwatch, where it's like a team fighting game. You know what I mean? Or
No, like in the first Borderlands, you play as Lilith, Cate Blanchett's character.
Mm-hmm.
And also Soldier, the one that's played by what the fuck's his name? Roland. He's played by Kevin Hart. And Krieg is from Borderlands
Am I
2.
the only one who doesn't like Kevin Hart?
No, I find him mostly annoying.
I find him mostly annoying too.
But
But he's in, like, everything.
Yeah, they also, like, they just went, hey, let's mash up some people from the different games and make them a team. But again, also, you made two of the characters weirdly old women for some reason. Like, I get, and I'm happy for Jamie Lee Curtis. She likes Tannis, and she got to play Tannis, but also weird casting for that role.
Right.
Also, she plays it really weirdly. I mean, maybe that's not true. Tannis could definitely be on the spectrum, but, like, it feels odd the way Jamie Lee Curtis plays it.
Like derivative?
I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't even say.
If I watch it, I'll give you my input.
Just make sure it's for free. Do not pay for that movie. Yeah, but fucking terrible. And let's see what else. Oh, speaking of adaptations that are pretty all right though.
Yeah.
Suicide Squad Isekai.
Oh, the anime.
Yeah, pretty all right.
Is
It has a weird intro. I think I remember texting you.
You were telling me the intro was kind of funky.
Yeah, where I was like for like 4 episodes, I was like, I have no idea how I feel about
You're like,
this.
do I like this?
Yeah, I was like, I couldn't tell if I liked, because if it was not very apparent by the many episodes of this podcast where I'm like, DC forever,
Yeah.
minus the movies.
Yeah.
Which, God, I'm hoping those movies are good. Oh my God.
Do you feel like the DC execs, they're all just like, please, please?
Well, in all other aspects of life, as a DC fan, I'm winning.
Right.
Marvel fans have consistently been losing forever. Especially for comics, because especially once Kevin Feige took over as every part of Marvel,
Right.
it's not going great. Especially because now tracing is becoming more and more prevalent, because apparently there's been a mandate to try to make all comics kind of look the same, so that they have a
No.
house style.
No.
And everyone's like, why?
I'm sorry, but I am anti.
You should be.
I'm anti.
There should be no house style of comics.
No.
Every comic should look different.
Because every artist is different.
That's the appeal.
exactly.
Like, and yeah, sure, sometimes you get a comic and like there's an artist on it and you're like, ooh.
I
But like at least it's like, again, like, yeah, sometimes it's a miss. The Tim Drake Robin run that happened semi recently had an artist that I did like. I've read a comic by him. He did the art for a comic called Rasputin, and I thought his art was fantastic in that. But he did that years ago. He did Tim Drake Robin, and his art had like evolved, or maybe he was just changing it for this comic, where like everybody had like a bean-shaped head. Like, it was everything was very round. It was like weirdly like proportioned, and I just couldn't get into it. I was like, and it was actively hindering my enjoyment of the comic. I was like, I just can't.
Well, the visuals are, in my opinion, half of
like
the appeal.
Like, Eamon had no problem with it. He actually liked the art.
Right.
Where I was like, I just can't get into this art, and thus I cannot get into the story. And then literally when the artist changed near the end, because like he moved on to something else, and the story was ending, I got more into the story when the art changed to something I was liked a little more.
Right.
So again, yeah, sure, it can impact negatively, but like for the most part, everything like it's better to have that variety than not.
You can't have greatness if everything is going to be the same.
As much as I like love Dan Mora and everything he is doing in DC right now, I would not want every single book to be people copying Dan Mora's style. Like,
I just think, especially in something that is a visually creative medium like comic books, making or mandating a house code,
apparently,
in my opinion, that's just going to be the death of either your brand or your label or whatever you want to call it, because it's meant to be fun. That's why you have like character models, where it's like, okay, this is what they should look like, and this is their general color palette that you have to stick to, so they're instantly recognizable.
Right.
But in terms of the style, you do you.
Yeah.
Because I also firmly believe that the style of artwork can greatly help to enhance the story you're telling.
Yes.
So if everything looks just the same, no matter what story you're telling, I feel like you're bound to lose impact.
Yeah.
Like, imagine reading Haikyuu and like those like great action shots, right?
Yeah.
But everything is done in like the Attack on Titan like high school chibi style. Like, wouldn't that be stupid?
Be kind of funny though.
It would be funny, but you'd be like,
but I wouldn't want it.
But you wouldn't feel so like, you wouldn't feel the weight and like the speed of a spike, right? Or like how dramatic a bump was.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh God, I love Haikyuu.
It's so good. I'm like 300 chapters in now.
Wow, it's only been 27 years. Congrats.
Thank you.
I started it and finished it infinitely before and after you.
You sure did.
Oh my God.
I'm working on it slowly but surely.
But where was I? Oh, right, because it started with
Borderlands comics.
I was gonna say Suicide Squad.
Right.
Where I was like, I can't tell if I like this or not, and I went, if you can't tell, I'm a DC fan, because like for me watching it, it was very clearly, which is not a bad thing, making that very apparent right now, is that it was very clearly like this Japanese studio, who it was WIT, which wild pick. like in a good way. Just
Right,
can't
right,
believe
right.
Wit was like
Yeah, we'll sign on for that.
Suicide Squad isekai, and everyone was like, huh? Okay. Like that, it's like their versions of the characters, and so like they are different,
Right.
but not in a bad way, just not a way I was expecting. And it takes a while just to be like, okay, this is just this version of the character, and like get into that flow. Like it was like conflicting gears that kept like catching until like
Right.
it finally was like, okay, we're riding it, we're going. The visuals were nice. The characterization is like pretty solid, but they are just very odd, and like the story itself is weird, and you're just like, there's just like a lot going on in the beginning where you're just like, where I could totally see someone be like, nah, this is not my vibe, fuck off, I'm out. But like it's pretty good.
Does it I don't know if this will make sense, but does it feel like a very anime, or does it feel like an anime that's being westernized?
It feels like somebody went, we want to make an anime but with these Western characters.
Okay,
So like they're putting the Western characters in anime.
gotcha. But it does. I mean, does it feel like it's like a clash instead of like a nice melding of the two?
I would say in the way that it clashes is purposeful, because it's
okay.
it's the isekai thing.
Right.
Where like they are supposed to feel like normal
people.
like the comics versions.
Of course.
And then they get thrown into what is essentially the anime.
Gotcha.
And they're just like, what the fuck? The Joker design, I'm going to be honest, so terrible. Hold on. I'm assuming you have not seen it.
I don't think I've seen it.
Terrible is probably not the right word, but it is a choice.
Is it like Jared Leto Joker?
You'll see in a second.
Which I would say is pretty terrible.
You'll see in a second. One sec. But it's fine. I would not be like, yeah, don't watch it. Keep in mind that smile is a tattoo. So it's like tattooed and it's like the teeth, but he still has a regular mouth that he talks from. Which is what's the weirdest part about it.
Yeah, I kind of wish that was just his mouth.
Yeah, right?
Like, I feel like that would make sense because...
I just wish it was just actually his mouth.
Right. Because in anime, you can kind of get away with anything.
Yeah, I would have accepted it.
I mean...
Harley Quinn's adorable, though.
It's not horrible.
No.
It's not good.
Yeah.
It feels...
Kind of a middling design.
It feels like a generic anime villain from like 2005, but like Joker color palette.
Yeah.
Harley Quinn's design is really cute.
Which is kind of like basically the synopsis of the show. It feels like basic anime.
Yeah.
DC filter.
Yeah, although I feel like Peacemaker looks kind of weird. Like Peacemaker looks like he's not an anime character.
Honestly, that kind of fits for how they portray him in the show itself. So,
but doesn't it, especially in this like still that you're showing me?
Yeah. And then this is the Deadshot, Killer Croc, and Clayface. I love how they don't make Clayface always made of clay. They just make him Michael Jackson.
Isn't that a shark?
Yeah, King Shark.
I know you said Killer Croc.
Oh, I meant King Shark.
I was like, what?
They do have Killer Croc is in the show though. Not a great design.
Is Clayface the one in the suit?
He's the Michael Jackson one.
Gotcha. He does kind of look.
He also does a lot of Michael Jackson references.
On purpose?
I guess.
Like, is his character?
He is the anime nerd of the show.
In this one, like, is his character obsessed with Michael Jackson?
Well,
is his character just inspired by Michael Jackson?
He's just very, very flamboyantly like, what's the word?
Exuberant?
Yes.
I got you.
Thank you. And so like because he's just got that style, he just kind of sometimes like will throw out a hee.
Oh, gotcha.
And you're like, all right. But he also in this universe watches anime and is like, I know how this works. We got.
Oh,
isekai.
so he's the Subaru of the show.
Yeah, he's a loser.
He's a loser. Is he the one that got hit by the truck?
No, they just go through a portal. Look at her though. Isn't she so adorable?
She is really cute. Although, it's kind of weird that she doesn't have like, like the like her character design. I picture the like anime girl like big eyelashes. And it almost feels like it's missing that she doesn't have them, because I could envision her with them. Like the lower lashes of the two little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
her character design is really cute, and I like her short little pigtails too.
Yeah. No, she is fun. I do like her design. It's also really funny because there's another woman in the show that looks exactly the fucking same as her, which I think is on purpose. It's meant to be like a parallel thing, but
okay.
I do think it's just kind of funny. Also, which is great, is that the ED is like a dance ED where like the characters are dancing. And you get Amanda Waller, the fucking stuck up bitch she is, like doing like a hot girl dance thing, and you're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's really funny.
But yeah, it's all right. Like I wouldn't complain if there was more, which they definitely set up to be more. But I also wouldn't be sad if there wasn't. But I will say this. I do kind of hope it works out and that they make more anime stuff, because that gets me one step closer to what I've been saying for years, which is fucking comic industries should hire people that make anime statues to make their statues for DC, for heroes. Because I'm sick of everything only being either $700 statue that's massive or action figure.
Yeah.
I don't want opposable limbs. I want $30 solidly built statues of characters I like.
Yeah.
Maybe $120. I would pay a slightly unreasonable amount of money for just a regular ass Jason Todd that's also not super small.
So what's funny is if you look into like figurines that are within that, like, let's say like $100, maybe $200 price range, it's always a chest up bust, and it pisses me off.
Yeah, and even still, sometimes they're not good.
Yeah.
So most of the time, the faces always still look terrible.
$200 to be off model?
Yeah, what
the fuck?
I just don't get it. That's why I'm like, I do kind of want this to go well, because that if they do more, if DC does more anime shit, they might get more incentive to start making figures of it in Japan,
right,
which would then be able to be bought, and I would just start buying them.
Now, are like comic book figures not as good quality because there's less demand for them?
I guess.
Because I think
it's more just that they're always action figures, and action figures don't need to be as on model because you're fucking around with them.
But like this Yami figurine was $90,
right?
Which I wouldn't say is like exorbitantly expensive for a figurine by any means.
Especially that good.
Exactly. And this
was $70.
This is extremely on model for his character. It looks great in 3D.
Yeah.
Like,
perfect example. This Megumin was one of the Pop Parades, so like what, 35
bucks? Yeah.
This was 70, and it is
smaller.
Yeah. And like it's good, but mostly because you can't fuck up Red Hood's face because it's just a helmet.
Exactly.
But like, and this is also like the only Red Hood statue that's not that exists that's also not like $700 and a different thing than his regular costume.
Right.
Because any other one is basically a different costume that some random company made just to be like, here's a cool thing we made.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's not what I want. I want a Pop Parade's
I want accurate on model design in the correct outfit.
Yeah.
Because
the market's right there. I'm sure people would pay so much money. It doesn't only need to be McFarlane toys.
And I feel like at this point the crossover of Western comic books and anime and like liking those things is pretty intertwined at this point in terms of like general pop culture. So it's not like people won't buy it.
Like, I can't imagine I'm the first person to say this, and like, but like, besides being a decent human that wouldn't just subject this to people of actual importance in a company, I just like the desire to just like hit up Jim Lee, CEO of DC Comics, and
Excuse me, sir.
Hey, real quick, I know this is a Twitter DM, but you could just steal this idea. I will never ask for money for it. Just go ask an anime figure company to start making figures for you, please, for the love of God. All right, cool, thanks, bye.
Yeah.
But I'm a decent human being, and I wouldn't do that. And also, he's not gonna fucking listen to that anyway.
Exactly.
But like, I wish, like, if I could have like a low stakes can't really affect the world wish, so like I couldn't really do anything big and bombastic with it.
Of course.
It would just be to be like, Jim Lee, just ask an anime figure company to make figures, please.
Yeah.
That'd be it. Like,
Because they would do a fantastic job.
they would, and they would be affordable and good looking.
Yeah.
Please.
Is it that also because I always think about this in terms of like, I feel like comic book figurines, a lot of times, even when they are on model, like, is it just that they have a different process of making them, or are they using, like, what's going on?
I don't know. Like, even when they're on off model, hey, they're usually $1 billion.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, why is it to be on model and correct, it's super expensive? But if I wanted to buy like a shitty $40 one, right?
They're action figures.
They look fucking horrible.
Yeah. And they're
And their
usually
faces are all melted.
And they're usually only action figures.
Like,
and nobody. I mean, not nobody. People buy
action figures all the time.
Yeah, and people buy figures, anime figures that have opposable limbs. But I don't want the joints. I don't want action joints. I just want person.
I also feel like action figures, I don't know if this is just me and like what I consume, but I feel like action figures are not as popular nowadays.
Yeah, but they're the only thing that like mid-tier.
I know, but I'm saying, like, wouldn't it make sense to move to this kind of model? Because
I don't know. Apparently, we're not.
Wouldn't you make more money?
I have to imagine somebody at some point has been having this conversation, and they're just like, they've done the numbers.
They don't want to risk it for the biscuit. Like,
I guess, I don't know, but like, please, you'll make $1 billion off of me alone. I will bankrupt myself.
Because even this holo, right? Obviously, this is a static figure.
Yeah.
But look at the amount of movement that they can achieve out of plastic.
Yeah.
Right? With the fabric and the tail and the hair. I think maybe they don't realize that people are smart enough to understand the concept of what's going on without the opposable limbs.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, because like literally, this has been the only figure of a character I've seen that I wanted.
Right.
And it was still $70,
yeah.
which is not worth. Like I got this as a gift because I was like, I'm not spending $70
right.
for how small it is, even though it's the only Red Hood I've ever seen that I've ever liked. Also, in general,
I think this Lelouch this was a gift, but I think it was only like $25. And I'm not gonna lie, for $25, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And
it's also like,
look how tall he is.
It's just bigger. like
quite literally more bang for your buck.
Yeah. I wish. That's why I'm like kind of hoping it succeeds, because if they start doing more stuff.
No.
And they've been doing some like having mangakas write some comics recently.
Oh, really?
Too. Yeah, they're like they're weird.
Oh, okay.
They're very odd, and they're like very niche. I only read a few of them. Like one of them is like this guy that writes basically like Superman food review. Like he flies to Japan just for food because he loves Japan's food so much.
That's funny.
So that's like he does his lunch break in
That's
Japan.
funny. I like
that. He goes
that.
and finds a new place in Japan every time to eat somewhere.
Clark Kent leaving the Daily Planet BRB. Gotta go have my lunch.
Yeah. And then just bolts to Japan. And so they're like kind of like that. And like there's one that's like Batman turned into a baby and the Joker's like trying to be like, maybe I can raise him into something.
I feel like I heard of that.
That's odd.
I feel like I remember seeing somewhere like screen grabs of that, and I was like, wait, is that real? And I couldn't tell because it wasn't like prints or anything, you know?
Yeah.
And it didn't have any dialogue. It was just like pictures. And I was like, is that just fan art, or like, is this a real comic? Because that seems kind of weird.
It's weird.
I kind of like that like kooky concept though.
Yeah. So like, I'm kind of hoping that like, especially with what they're doing now with their compact line, which is essentially they're making mangas of DC of stories. Greatest move DC ever did was hire someone to run their book section, like the prints and everything that used to be in printing, and like and would know how to like sell regular books. She literally went, all right, cool. I know we got trade paperbacks and like hardcovers of all these runs. What we're going to do is make all of these runs $9 or $10. We're gonna compact it down to manga size. Every story is $9.
Right.
Put it out there, regardless of how short or big it is. We're fitting it in there, and it's $10. Which I've seen some people complain where they're like one of them is side by side, and it's a Joker story, and it's like a thin book. And then compared to the others, and they're like, this is also $9. And I'm like, okay, but also in that collection you have Watchmen, which is like twice the size of half the other books in there. And that's also $10.
Right.
So it evens out. I don't know what you want. Like, just don't buy that one then. I mean, and they're like they're pushing that line, and it's been very successful. And especially because they can put them in any store now. Like, it doesn't just have to be Barnes & Noble or a comic shop. Like, they have a specific stand for them. And like they've been in Targets, Walmarts, so like they can just put them anywhere, and they've been very successful.
Do printout comics still come as like a 7x11 kind of
like
pages?
Just the regular issues? Yeah.
Okay.
So they're still bigger, and then the trade paperbacks are also usually the same kind of height and stuff. But no, like the compact line is literally same as a manga. And they've been selling really well, and they keep announcing new ones that they're going to make. And they're covering a wide variety of gambits. It's like any famous story from any character. Hell, even Cassandra Cain and Batgirl is getting one. And I'm like, fuck yeah. I'm not going to buy it because I already own the run, but I also might buy it because
you want it?
I'm a slut. It's me, like, anytime a Jason Todd new collection comes out, and I'm like, this run sucked. But it has a minute, so I guess I'll go buy it. I have a few of those. But
You're like, I'm too loyal.
I really am. But as a Cass fan, I'm also winning currently because she's getting a solo series again, and I'm like, fuck yeah. And also, she's like such a badass in the current run that's happening, and I'm like, hell yeah, girl, you get it. Sadly, as a Stephanie fan, I'm drowning.
Oh.
There's a pic, that meme where it's like the picture of like the little girl, and she's like jumping into the dad's arms, and then in the foreground there's that girl like that's like drowning, and then there's the skeleton underwater.
No.
Hold on. Let me see if I can find it. But it's like a popular meme, and it's just like one child's getting all the love, one's struggling, and one is just dead and forgotten.
Right.
And the dad is usually labeled as, like, in this instance, it would be the dad's DC.
Right.
The happy kid is Cass. The drowning one is Barbara, and then the dead one's Stephanie. And so it's like, me as a Cass fan, I'm winning. Me as also a Steph fan, fuck
everything
me.
is awful.
Yeah, everything's awful and everything's pain. So it's like I'm both winning and also losing.
Yeah.
So, but I'm mostly just happy that Cass is getting another run because she deserves it. And so far DC Comics has just been fucking killing it, dude. They've been on a tear, and and especially with all the shit that's happening at Marvel, it just like. The only reason I read Marvel at this point is just because Eamon buys them and they're there. So I'm like, all right. Besides Moon Knight. Moon Knight has been fantastic, and I would read that regardless. But it's just like, literally, so their new initiative is coming out soon. You remember the New 52 thing?
For DC?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So like forever ago.
Right. I think
So-
when was that, like 2010? Earlier?
Eamon was in college. I mean, in high school.
Yeah.
No, it would have been when you guys were in high school together.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. It might have been 15. I don't remember if it was the end of the year or earlier.
Older.
But regardless. So that's an initiative.
Right.
They've had a few since then.
Right.
But their new initiative is going to be called All In. And there is not one book in that initiative that me, Eamon, and Anthony aren't buying.
Okay.
Like, and that there's a lot of them. Like, they're starting a new universe also, which is going to be like just different interpretations of the characters, made by famous writers and artists, and it's just like they're just winning. Literally everybody's like, this is all across the board stellar moves by everything. The fact that you're making commercials for the compact comics. When was the last time you saw a commercial for a comic ever?
Right.
You're making the compact line. They're selling great. You're making all these things, and all the artists and writers for the most part are all very happy with what they're allowed to do in their work. Like across the board, it's pretty great being a DC fan at the moment, apparently.
Right.
So net positive.
Good.
Really, as a DC boy, I'm winning. And if you're a Marvel fan, I guess that sucks for you. And also, don't be a Spider-Man fan. Don't put yourself through that. You're better than that.
It's okay. I don't read comics, so.
Yeah. Because
I find comics just so daunting to enter into.
see, I always thought that too. And I think I've said this before, but like, really, all you have to do to start is, like, hell, if you just walked into a comic shop, which I'm not saying you're gonna do, but like, if you walked into a comic shop and you just see a character you like, fuck it. Even if it's not issue 1, just like pick up the story, see what's going on, and if you're like, this seems interesting, go find where it started.
Right.
Or if you have an artist, if you just see art that you like, just go grab a book by that artist, or learn a writer that you like. Like, for me, it started with just, I like the Jason Todd, I like Red Hood, so I would read all his stuff, even when it was terrible. Have better taste than me. Like, just find something or look up, hey, what's one good Batman story?
Right.
And the compacts are a great excuse to get into this, because it's like Batman Court of the Owls. It's just one of his books. You can just grab that and start reading. And then you can be like,
read that.
yeah, and then you could be like, I really liked this writing. Who's this by? And then it's like, Scott Snyder. Cool. What else has he worked on? Then you can just other comics by this guy, and then just go from there. And like, it really is just a pick up and read, and that seems very daunting, and it kind of is. But like, just start somewhere, and you'll kind of end up falling into a spot, and then kind of getting into the flow, and you'll eventually like catch up in your own way.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So like, you don't have to feel like, you know, can I just pick up Batman issue 150? Like, do I need to read all 150 prior? And it's like, no, not really. Like, especially because comics are, unlike, say, One Piece, right? Where it's like, you can't just jump in at episode 1000. I mean,
right.
I guess you could, but
There
is a lot going on in the background.
But why would you do that?
With comics, usually, like, max, like 50 issues is by one person.
Right.
Maybe. That's usually a very long run for one person.
I was gonna say, I feel like the difference between like comics and like manga is usually manga will be one story for however long it needs to be, right?
Yeah.
And it's just those characters. But you're not gonna have like usually a spin-off with
Right.
those characters.
Yeah.
The mangaka will just move on to another story with different characters.
Yeah.
Whereas like comics, you'll have like there's probably 1,000,001 Batman comic stories.
Oh, hey, boy, are they.
You know what I mean?
But like, with it makes it like, what my point is, like,
But the general lore is always kind of the same.
always the same. And if there's something, if you pick up
Like
something,
you can bet Bruce's parents are dead.
yeah. But like, so even when one writer is doing 50 issues of something, it's usually not one story through that 50 issues. It's usually like multiple stories in their run. So you could pick up an issue and then see Dark Prisons Part 3 of 4. And you just be like, oh, well, this is Batman 127. If this is Part 3, let me just go back 2 issues.
Right.
Pick up Part 1 of this arc.
Right.
And like, it still might be a little confusing, but like anything that you have a question about, there's usually a little editor blurb in the corner that's like, go check out this issue if you don't get it.
Right. See blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah.
see Batman issue 121. Like, it literally will usually tell you that.
Right.
And so like, it feels daunting. And I get that because again, the same way. There's a billion books. There's a fucking quadrillion characters.
Yeah.
What it had, where, who, what, when. And it's just like, really, the best thing to do is just pick up something that you think looks fun, a character you think looks cool, or art that you like, or maybe a name you recognize from whatever the fuck.
Right.
And then just be like, and read.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're confused, a quick Google.
Yeah,
we'll
for
probably
sure.
answer any question you have. If so yeah, comics are daunting, but like there's always places to start. And hell, if you want to get into DC and you don't know what to do yet, they're literally about to start a new initiative in October. So like, jump in, just jump in there. It'll be the beginning of new stories all then.
Right.
Like, so it's a great time just to jump in there. And other things like Marvel has their Ultimates line happening right now, and that's like 4 comics, and most of them are only 4 issues in. Just go start with Ultimates 1. You don't need any new information.
Right.
It's the same with DC, what they're about to launch, their Absolute Comics line. They all start at 1. You don't need any context. They're reiterations of the characters. So they're not even like, even if you read them, it would be different than what the Superman you know. Or the Batman or the Wonder Woman you know. Wonder Woman has a Buster sword and tattoos, and she looks so fucking cool. So yeah. Just kind of go and pick something up.
Just do it.
Just pick it up. If you have any passing interest, just go do it. It's a lot less daunting than it seems. And again, any questions you have, the internet exists.
Yeah.
And it'll happily answer questions for you. Hit me up. I love talking about comics. I know.
I feel like you, Eamon, and Anthony, like the level of like comic knowledge you guys have is just like an infinite pool.
Well, Eamon alone.
Yeah.
Eamon outdwarfs anybody that I've ever met.
I truly cannot understand how Eamon can fit that much information into his brain.
Eamon is my Google. I literally, anytime I have a question, I just message him on Messenger, and he's like, oh, God. Anyway, here's the answer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, cool.
One time in college, I messaged him at like 3 a.m, being like, hey, I have a question about Gundam. And he was like, yeah, what's up?
Yeah. There's two things that Eamon will always be like lore dump on happily.
Oh, yeah. He's like
comics and Gundam.
Encyclopedia level.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, just start. Just do it, one might say.
Do it.
And go support the Suicide Squad guys. That way I can hopefully get
good
Japanese
figurines
of comic characters that are reasonably priced and I don't have to break the bank on. Minus buying 1 billion of them to break the bank.
Of course.
Because I probably would.
Because you're like, oh, it's only $30.
Yeah,
it's only $30.
They announced this like goes through and there's like 20 in the starting line, and like one day when someone tunes into the video part of our podcast, they're just gonna be like, slowly anime figures are getting moved away and comic characters are being put in. All right. Thanks for watching this week's episode of the Vaguely Anime Podcast. You have 4 weeks to watch 2 seasons of free and 50% off. Because why not? So 4 weeks, 2 seasons of free. And 50% off. Get on that. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, like, follow. Check out Kat at Kat the Moonstar on Twitch. And we will see you guys next.
Are you sure 4 weeks is accurate? Because I think it's 3.
3 weeks to watch that show that I said. It's 3 weeks, not 4. You are correct. I forgot we recorded one out of order.
4 seems wrong.
Yeah, because we recorded out of order. 3 weeks. 3 weeks to watch that. Again, every time I fuck it up, whatever number we are from a 5 or a 0.
Round numbers.
Yeah, it's just, whatever 5 or 0, if we're, 171, then it's a 5 that's Anime Club. If we're at 176, it's a 0 that's at Anime Club. Whatever one we're far away from, or we're closest to, going upward. Anyway, thanks for watching. We will talk to you guys next week. See you guys next week for whatever we talk about.
Bye.
Bye.